Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, hi. My name is Carrington, not your first time here, hi. Welcome back. If you enjoy makeup, if you enjoy books, then I absolutely invite you to go ahead, hit that subscribe button, click the little bell to be notified of all my future uploads. If you enjoy this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below what books you read this month, what books you might be planning to read next month, and let's go ahead and let's dive on into today's video, which is me talking about the books that I read in September and what books I would like to read in the month of October. So this month I have so far read, there's still a few days left, so I'm not sure if I'm just going to like take a break or if I'm going to decide to just like go ahead and read another book. So there will be another video where I rank all of the books that I read in the month of September. So if you want to see all of the books, what I thought of them, then make sure you guys have subscribed so you guys can be notified when that video posts. But today we're just going to quickly go through the books that I have read so far and the ones that I would love to read in October. So if you guys are excited to see what all I read, what all I'm wanting to read, then definitely keep on watching. So I had put on my TBR last month that I wanted to read 8 books. I was like, you know what? I've been consistently reading like between 7 and 8. I just want to see if I can read these 8 books. And I did, and I have exceeded that. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start off with the book right here called The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. This book is a really, really good book. This pulled me in. What I really like about Lucinda and her books is that Lucinda is used to be a psychologist, and so she has worked with like a lot of cases, and I just like how she puts like those little aspects on her books. So this is about a nurse and her husband who is an orthopedic surgeon. They work in a hospital, and this little girl named Janie is brought in because she was found wandering around in like this parking lot. She was filthy, just in a diaper. Her bones were broken, and so Christopher had to go and like reset her bones as like the orthopedic surgeon. And she was malnourished. Like you could tell like she had been really abused. And Christopher and Hannah, who is the nurse, his wife, just can't have children, and so they decide that they want to take Janie under their wings, and they do know that she is going to take a lot of like rehabilitation. There's going to be a lot of therapy, and they're like, what better parents to do that than us? Like, we have the money, we have the funds, we absolutely should be able to do this. But once they start bringing Janie home, there's a lot of weird things that just start happening, and then it just starts spiraling. And my whole entire heart just felt for this family. And it was also like so aggravating, like you just wanted to yell at them and just, or at the husband, Christopher, and just be like, what are you doing? Hello, wake up. And it was so good. So then in relation to that book, there was a sequel that just came out, and you could get it for free to download to Kindle and Audible. And so I did that because I love to read with Kindles or Audibles, or like a physical book and Audible. So it was called A Welcome Reunion by Lucinda Berry. So at this point, Janie is now an adult. She hasn't really seen her adoptive family in a while. Now she's being, she's kind of writing a memoir about her life and like the abuse that she experienced. But she's painting it in a very just like odd picture. And the part that like sucks is like how much like the media and other people are lapping this up when Christopher and Hannah and Piper, the social worker, know what's going on but can't really say anything. And there's just a lot of like crazy things that like happen in this, and then the ending comes. I was kind of a little bit disappointed in the ending, but I do think overall that it was really good. It was a really short read. I thought it was a really good way to kind of bring it back, because at the end it's kind of left with a cliffhanger of like, well, what's going to happen? What are we going to do now? So I felt like that was a really good way to wrap it up, and it was really short, sweet, and to the point. The next 2 books that I read are also in a series together. So the first is Gone to See the River Man. And then the sequel to that is Along the River of Flesh. These are by Christopher Triana. These books were just so good. So the first Gone to See the Riverman, this one was so good. It starts off with Lori, who is kind of just obsessed with Edmund Cox, who is a convicted serial killer. And she really just wants to get close to him for the sake of being able to write like this news report to like really like help her gain traction in writing a book. Because that's like one of her lifelong dreams, is to really write a book. And she really likes to write about serial killers or read about them. So she was trying to really get close with like Edmund so that a way she could get like the scoop on this story, because he never talks about like his previous life or what really drove him to like murder all of these women. So she like tries to form a like bond with him. And so he's like, if you really want to prove like your like friendship, love, adoration for me, I need you to go see the Riverman and take him a key. And so she goes on this quest with her sister, who has a traumatic brain injury. So she functions like that of like a younger child. And just along the way, like really creepy and just like crazy things start happening, especially with like her sister. And then soon they get to the Riverman and realize they have to make a deal. But what are they willing to give in order to get what they want? And what is it that they are wanting? This is very good. And like all of like their secrets of their families are just starting to become unrevealed and unraveled. And some of it's like so disturbing, but I really like how it gives an element of like horror, demons, possession, like something spooky and creepy, ghosts. But then it's also so scary because some of the scariest things in there are just like what actual living people are doing. It's so weird. It was so good. So then along the river flesh is now Edmund has broken out of prison and he is now on his way to go see the Riverman. The cops are hot on his trail, as well as there is somebody that is also trying to find him as well, who is a like private investigator. And so the private investigator and the cop, FBI agent, are like working together to go and try to find Edmund. So they're having to go find the Riverman to go and see him. And then like everyone's pasts and like start unraveling. And of course, creepy things happen. And when they meet the Riverman, you know, what are they willing to give and take? And it's so scary because it has like all of the elements of things that are going to be so freaky. I love it. The next one is going to be, again, this is not one that I have a physical one of. It's called Long Live the Pumpkin Queen. So this is now Jack and Sally are now married in Halloween Town. The mayor officiated the wedding. And at first, Sally was so excited to be away from Dr. Finkelstein. Finkelstein. Wow, it's supposed to be like Frankenstein, but like a different twist on it. Because now she's going to be able to get away from him. And she's so happy. And she does love Jack. But then just like over time, all of her responsibilities are coming to light. And now she's like, I don't know if this is like the job for me. And so she just kind of goes about her way, you know, kind of like how Jack does, where he's just like kind of walking in the woods. And he comes across like these trees, you know, where you could like join. He goes into Christmas Town. Well, in this one, Sally goes into Dreamland. And there she sees all of like the dream, you know, the dreamness. But as she comes back, so do like the dreams, like the terrorizing dreams. So now she has to try to save Halloween Town before all of like everybody like falls asleep forever. So that was really good as well. Another Disney retelling that I had is going to be As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. Oh, this was a really good retelling. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is like about like what if Belle's mom had cast a spell. So in the book, towards the beginning, when it's talking about like current or past day events, a lot of it is very like reminiscent of the movie. Like you'll hear a lot of like sayings, or the scenes that are being set are very similar to that of like the cartoon movie. But it just has like little twists on it as well. You start to learn about Belle's mother, who in the movie was completely absent. It was just her and her father. But you start to learn about the mother and why nobody was able to remember her, how she's the one who cast the spell, and how they have to go ahead and break it. And the ending is really, really sad. It's not like a super happy ending, but I really, really enjoyed it, and just really kind of makes you think. Which I love books that make you think. So that was a really, really, good book as well. So the next one is going to be, I think this is the only nonfiction one that I have read, and this is A Long Walk to Water. So this kind of goes back and forth between Naya, who is part of like a certain tribe, and she has to go fetch water every single day. She has to make the long trek to go and get the water, bring it back, and she may have to go multiple times a day. And this is like current day 2008. But then it really kind of goes back and it talks about Salva, who was in Sudan when the Sudan war was starting, and how he had to like leave and flee his village. And he, was unable to find any of his family members. So he's trying to walk to a refugee camp with a group of people. There's not a lot of kids. He sees a lot of death happening. But if he returns, like, he's going to die that way. And it just kind of seems like every step that he's taking, it feels like that's going to be his last one. But he is pushed to like go ahead. And then, he goes to the refugee camps. And finally, he's able to go to America, where he makes like a life and he makes like a business company for himself. And then he takes his business company and like expands it, and it just like talks about like the success and like how these two like intertwine in the story. It was really, really good. The next two are going to be kind of like mysteries. These are the two mysteries that I read. So first is going to be What Lies in the Woods. This is what I read for my book club this month, and it was really, really, really good. I really, really, really enjoyed this. This talks about these three friends. When they were little, one of them was viciously attacked. And now it's 20 years later, and one of the friends, Liv, is like, I want to tell the truth about what actually happened. And one of the friends, Cass, is like, no, we're not doing this. Well, then Olivia goes missing, and nobody knows what happened to her. And Cassidy just kind of seems to think, oh, well, she's been mentally ill. It's just how it is. And Naomi is like, no, I don't think so. Absolutely not. Like, we had this pact. We had this deal where we said, I'll be here tomorrow, because then that meant that was like a promise that nothing was going to happen. She wouldn't have broken that. So now Naomi is trying to like solve like what happened all those years ago, because she put somebody away, but she can't remember seeing the person. She can't remember what the person looked like. And so now she's like she's grappling with that. So she's trying to figure out what actually happened to her those 20 years ago. Now she's trying to figure out what happened to Liv, all while trying to stay safe herself. And the ending was really, really wild, and it was really good. The next one is going to be Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. This is really good. This is about is it Vietnamese or Korean? I can't remember. Korean. So they're Korean American family, and the dad and their son, who has autism and Angelman syndrome, go on a walk. But when the son comes home, his clothes are all bloodied. The dad's not there. So they start setting off trying to find him. They're unable to do so. But the son, who has Angelman syndrome and autism, is unable to answer any questions. He can't talk at all, but he's the only one with like any sort of information. And I thought this book was just like really good, because over time it talks about how they got to where they were that day, the son and the father, like why they were going on this walk, like what they were doing on this walk, what had happened. But then there's like some mystery to it, because you're just kind of like, who was involved? You're just kind of like, who is involved in this story? You're like, what happened? Was it an accident? Did it have anything to do with the son? Was it somebody else? Like, was it a murder? Like, what happened? And it's trying to like piece together like secrets that like the families were like withholding from each other. And it's just like so intricate, and it was so beautifully done. It was such a good book. And then the very last one that I read, and this was just, I have read this so many times before. Like, this book is abused. Like, this book is so old and abused. Like, it's just colored, because I've had this for so long. I've had this since this came out. 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult. So good. It is about Peter Houghton, who goes to school as a young kid. He's a junior in high school, and he shoots up the whole entire school. And now they are trying to figure out, like the parents are trying to figure out where they went wrong in their parenting. Peter is trying to give a little bit about like what happened to him all throughout his life, where things had gone wrong. Josie, who was his best friend, but also somebody that also tormented him, talks about like her role and everything that happened. And there was just so much bullying in this high school, and it just kind of just like talks about like those like really deep emotional topics of school shootings and bullying and friendships. And I have read this book at least 7 times, and I read this again and I cried my eyes out every single time I have read this book. And this time, now having kids myself that are older, going to school and experiencing some bullying firsthand, I just lost it. This is such an amazing book. So now we're going to talk about my books from the month that I would like to read in the month of October. For this month, with it being like Halloween, spooky season, spooky vibes, I want to read books that are going to terrify me. There are going to be 2 books, however, that aren't going to really terrify anybody, because that's not the point of them, which is fine. But these are for my book club books. I'm going to have 3 book clubs. We have not picked the book for one of my other ones, but for my book club that I do at work, we haven't picked, but there's 2 other book clubs that I joined. So the first book that we're going to be reading is Credence. I have heard so many mixed reviews on this, with some people either really loving it or really hating it. Didn't really feel like there was a lot of in between. It was either like you really love it or you're just like, what is wrong with you? So I have not read that yet. I'm going to start that in October. There's like a whole entire like reading schedule where like you read so many chapters, pages, and then we discuss it on certain days. And then the next one is going to be Fourth Wing. That's another one that we are going to discuss and read together. It's going to take us like the whole entire month to read it. So I'm not exactly for sure, like they tell us like not to really read ahead so we can discuss and not have to discuss anything further. But I'm excited to see how this goes with those 2 books. I don't really know a lot about them. I know Credence is like a little bit of like a romance with some like spice to it. And then Fourth Wing is like a fantasy that's got like the dragons and like a love story. So I know they're both really popular, so I'm excited to read both of those. But again, I'm not really for sure what they're about, so we'll just dive on in together, we'll find out. So the first books that I want to read in October to really like terrify me, or whatever the case may be, is going to be Behind the Weeping Walls. So with this book, this is you choose, it's like a game. It's like you choose what happens. So you'll like read and it'll be like options. Are you going to do turn here, or are you going to do this? And then you turn to that page and figure out what happens next and figure out how far you're going to make this. So basically it's about where you are going to try to save your sister. She went to this spa, or she claimed she was going to this spa, but then she disappears. So you're going to the spa, and now you're really thinking that maybe this is a cult in disguise. So you're trying to make your way through to try to either help save your sister before like you die in the book as well. So I don't know. I'm really excited to like read this, and I think it would be so fun because you could read this so many different times and pick different options, and your book's going to turn out different every time. But also it has like creepy horror elements to it as well. So I think that's going to be so fun. The next one is not necessarily a horror book, but like it is. But this, I just wanted it to deeply disturb me, and this is going to be it. This is going to be The End of Alice. Check your trigger warnings on any of these books that I mentioned, because I'm sure there's a mile long. So this is about a man who is in prison for CSAM, child assault material. And this woman writes into him under the pretense that she is a young child. She is not. But the letters that they write back and forth to each other are supposed to be just like so haunting and eerie and gross and disturbing and make you question everything in your life. So I'm hoping to just be dumbfounded, but I'm also hoping to maybe gain some like knowledge and to insight into those around us, and maybe hopefully pick up some like warning or triggers or anything else like that, especially as I'm raising children in this era. The next one is going to be No Place for the Weak. This is a nonfiction, but this is the part that's like terrifying because this is in Southern Australia. Yes, Southern Australia in Snowtown, and this was in 1999. And this is when officers find barrels of like acid in this like abandoned warehouse or bank or something like that, and they open them up and they see a whole bunch of bodies. And now they're trying to piece together who all these people are and what's happening. But it was these group of men who is trying to purge the earth of those that they think of less than. So those in the LGBTQ community, homeless, people with like HIV, things like that, pedophiles, all of those in here who they think that the earth should be rid of. And so they just go on to kill them. And the fact that it's based on a true story, I'm here for it. The next one is going to be Suffer the Children. So this is kind of like a dystopian era. This is where these children go missing. And when they return, you would think that they are like your exact same child, except for their feeding patterns are a little bit different. It's almost kind of vampire-ish. They really thirst for blood. And now the parents are well, what do I do? Because I really love my child. Like everything else about them is perfect and nothing else is different. Like that's the only thing. So like what sacrifices are they willing to make? What are they willing to give their children to like keep them alive and keep them, close and at home with them? So I'm ready for that book. That sounds really good. The next one is going to be The Store by Bentley Little. I don't know why I just said Bentley Little, but Bentley Little. I just picked this up. So there's about this store that's like everything is like so super cheap. Everybody loves going there, and people are working there, but things about it just seem like a little bit off, like almost kind of cult-ish in a way. And this man's daughters starts working there. And they just start to like really just like start acting different. So he's trying to figure out like what's really going on with this store. But as you discover things, you may realize that you bargained for more than you can handle. And that's okay. That's all right. We just need to admit that sometimes. So the next one is going to be Ask for Andrea. This is about a man who kills, right? Yes. About this man who has murdered 3 women. And now these 3 women have met up in the afterlife and they are like, we are getting our absolute revenge. I don't care if he's ready for it or not. Okay, absolute revenge. And so it's just supposed to be like this like horror of like ghosts and, murder and like trying to like save this guy from being able to kill again. So I heard that was really good, so I'm excited for it, per usual. The last book that I really want to read and I'm super excited about because I've heard so many good things and I just feel like this will be just so good for spooky season. It's going to be Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. Okay, so this is about Abatha, and this is set in like colonial New England. And basically she teams up with this force that has been released on this village. And it's either like a devil, or some people like claim that he is like a protector. And so she calls upon him to help her in a quest of protection. And however, along the way, working with him may ruin like the whole entire village and take out everyone in it. So it sounds like really, really good. Like she makes a deal with like a demon to like save herself. So I just wonder how that book is going to be. It just looks really good. I've heard really good things about it. So I'm really excited. Those are the books that I have so far. I'm so excited for like the spookiness, the spooky books. I just really want to be terrified this whole month. I know there's those 2 books, Credence and Fourth Wing, that really may not necessarily make me feel haunted inside. But I have a feeling that these other books will, and I am so excited to read them. Let me know what you guys think of the books that I have picked down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the books I had read last month. What books did you read last month? What books are you looking forward to reading next month? Are you guys also in like a spooky vibe for reading? What's your vibe right now in the reading world? Let me know all of that down below. If you enjoyed, make sure you guys definitely give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you guys have subscribed so you guys can see the ranking of the books that I had read this month. And then don't forget to also subscribe so that way you guys can see what I think of these books. And I have tons more books content coming out, and I have tons more makeup as well. So make sure you guys have subscribed, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.